Welcome to Hardcover Feedback. I'm Tracey Hill.
And I'm Brandi Smits.
And we are reading Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn.
Fresh from a brief stay at a psych hospital, Camille's first assignment from the newspaper where she works brings her reluctantly back to her hometown to cover the murder of two preteen girls. As Camille works to uncover the truth about these violent crimes, she finds herself identifying with the young victims a bit too strongly. Dogged by her own demons, Camille will have to confront what happened to her years before if she wants to survive this homecoming.
Outside on the porch, I saw a changeling, a little girl with her face aimed intently at a huge 4-foot dollhouse, fashioned to look exactly like my mother's home. Long blonde hair drifted in disciplined rivulets down her back, which was to me. As she turned, I realized it was the girl I'd spoken to at the edge of the woods, the girl who'd been laughing with her friends outside Natalie's funeral, the prettiest one. "Amma?" I asked, and she laughed. "Naturally. Who else would be playing on Adora's front porch with a little Adora house?"
There's a lot to say about this book, and unfortunately, a lot of that is bad. Like it wanted to be so much more.
It tried.
It tried really hard, and I really want to know how much money Stephen King got for his little word on the back of how amazing this book was, because I really think that this is the kind of stuff that Stephen King would throw away when he's starting to write his books, going, "Oh, this is crap," and throw it out. I don't know.
See, wow. I thought he lost a bet and had to pay up with the positive review of this book, because there's just, the more I read this book, the less there was to recommend it. And it started off poorly with this reporter, small potatoes in Chicago, but she's never made it really well there. And she's scarred all over her body. She's cut herself with words. She's cut words into her body. And right there, I thought, man, that's a bit much.
That's trying too hard.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
going, I want my character to have a major complex, so much so that not only is she scarred mentally, she's scarred so physically that now her body tells her story of what... I'm sorry.
And she's a journalist who has to tell stories, difficult stories. I'm like, ugh, come on.
It's so over the top. It's
right
so
there.
Trying so hard.
Just with the first character, the main character.
I can't even, the worst part is you can't even say what the biggest over the top thing is, because it's the end. And it's when everything comes together, which if you're at all an intuitive reader, you will know immediately what the end of this book is going to be. But holy cow, trying so hard to be this really creepy book.
Yeah.
With this, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry, because I couldn't stand it
I
either.
I don't like to say really horrible things, because there's usually at least a little bit of a silver lining in a book. And it's I always tell people when I trash a book and I don't like a book, I always challenge them, challenge you to go and read it yourself and get your own ideas.
Yeah,
don't take us as the end all be all of everything. But holy cow, I can't even think of anything redeeming to read this book for.
No, this time we are doing you a favor, okay? We are helping you out here by telling you that this is not a fun read. It is...
it's mentally taxing.
It's overwrought. There's just too much going on. It's not that long a book, but it feels like one that's 3 times as long, because there's so much going on in it. And this reporter ends up having to go back to the hometown that she fled, that has obviously mentally crippled and emotionally crippled her. And she's got to go back, and she has to deal with her mother, who she was fleeing in the first place, and she meets this freaky little half-sister that was introduced in that excerpt. And everyone is creepy in the book, right?
Exactly.
Down, even the first little girl who was a known murder victim, that kid was written to be creepy, and the male supporting characters, of which there are not very many, they are no heroes by any stretch.
They're all like, all of them want to get with her.
Yeah,
it's like there's no one who's gonna like. I wanted Camille to have somebody to go, oh, my life is really hard. I have that one person, even if they don't even care, even if it doesn't matter what I'm telling them, just somebody who's normal to have a normal conversation with. There is not one person in this entire story that she can just talk to that doesn't want to get something out of her or judge her or kill her. I mean, it's
kind of her boss back in Chicago.
He wants to get with her too.
But wow. Well, but you were caring about her more than I was, because whatever, I wouldn't care if she got killed on page 10. After knowing now knowing what I know now about that character, I wouldn't have cared. I'm like, so okay, she's gone. It would not have bothered me if it would have ended sooner. Stephen King wrote on the back of this thing that I couldn't stand reading the last 30 pages. I'm paraphrasing, but he was in such anticipation of the ending, and about that point, I was like, I'm done with this book. I don't care if I read the last 30 pages or not.
At that point, I knew what the last 30 pages were going to be.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
You know.
It's that big old red herring that was about that wide that got thrown in umpty pages before that. It's like, I know that's not right because there's so much of this book left. It's like you threw that in too early, author person, you know?
And it's like, I mean, obviously, I'm sure people are wondering why we read this book in the first place. And you know,
because
sometimes you find a book that sounds good.
It sounded cool.
It's got a razor blade on the cover. It looked intense.
It sounded good. It's like, okay, let's see how it seemed very female-oriented, and you don't see a whole lot of that. You don't see a whole lot of female-oriented,
it's very down
gritty
on women.
Stories like this. But this is like the author just went through, pathologies she found online, psychological pathologies. And yeah, there you go. And just started pulling things from that, like, okay, this one's going to have this set of symptoms, and this one's going to have that syndrome. And after a while, it was like, why do I even care about these people? They have no redeeming value. No. I don't care.
And on that note, let us rate this book. Now, okay, I gave it 1 star only because I reserved the half star for a book that I seriously just wanted to throw out a window, or a book I don't finish. So this is as low as I get for a book that I finished that I didn't want to just get away from me physically because it makes me ill. So I will give it 1 star. Yeah.
I gave it half a star.
But that's okay. You have your reasons.
Because I had to give it something, and she got it published, so that's an accomplishment right there. She got it published.
Way to shop around.
Thanks for watching Hardcover Feedback, and we'll see you next time.